Chapter 19. Incompetence. The solid wooden door to Corinth's modest dwelling burst open, and Melchoir stood on the other side with a furious look in his eyes.
Melchoir, I was just on my way out to see you.
Corinth, were all your field programs damaged when your consciousness was created? Was there a glitch in Prime 2 when your merger took place? What were you thinking? What possessed you to kill Shipra? Do you realize the scrutiny this council is receiving because of this? This is the last thing we need,
Yelled Melchoir.
I am sorry, but she did not leave me a choice. She would have become suspicious and possibly discovered what we were planning if I had let her be. She was indeed a threat to our society,
Pleaded Corinth.
You do not realize the scope of this problem. You will no longer intervene with anyone regarding this mission unless you receive specific instructions from me. Do you understand?
Yes, I understand.
Replied Corinth.
What did you do with her remains?
They were destroyed. I inserted a decomposed feeder in Shipra's mouth, consuming her body before the suns rose that morning.
Make sure you place a mental block on those memories. I do not need anyone picking up a stray thought from you.
Melchoir pushed Corinth aside and headed towards her sitting area.
I already have. Do not worry, Melchoir. There is no way any of this can be tied back to us.
Us. Trust me, there is no way this murder would come back to us. Maybe you, but not us. I now consider you a liability to this operation. Take this.
As Melchoir handed Corinth a silver metal sphere about the size of a plum.
What do I do with this?
I need you to find Willow and give that to her. I believe she is in the Mana-dorn mountain range.
You want me to go there now?
Melchoir did a quick scan of Corinth's quarters.
My word, Corinth. You think you are some botanist. Why do you have so many plants?
Corinth was about to answer, but was interrupted.
Never mind, I do not need to know. Now go.
May I ask what this silver sphere is for?
Just find Willow and give it to her.
What if she asks me?
She will not now leave.
Demanded Melchoir.
Sir, there is one more item I would like to address with you.
Said Corinth.
What is it now?
Corinth lowered her head with dishonor.
Before Shipra passed, she thanked me for getting her to Earth. Do you know what she meant by that?
Melchoir looked at Corinth with disgust.
How would I know? She was probably just rambling. Now go.
Corinth headed directly to her assigned destination without saying anything further.
That foolish woman. Why I entrusted her with such a task was certainly a misjudgment on my part.
Melchoir removed an octagon metal device from the inside of his robe and placed it on a small rectangular table. As soon as this device contacted the surface, a little amber indicator came on and started blinking. Melchoir left through the door he had entered, and shortly afterward a bright flash occurred, causing Corinth's residence to disintegrate completely. The location was vast, with a diversity of plant life. The two suns, which illuminated the sky, provided this area of Therese with more sunlight than anywhere else on the planet. The most substantial deciduous growth reached over 50 stories high and produced some of the most remarkable leaves due to their structure and colors. The leaves displayed a spade-like shape with a slight bend in the middle, allowing rainwater to drain towards their roots. The average size of one of these leaves could easily cover a full-grown earthling. The coniferous growth held the same majestic presence as the deciduous growth, resembling the coastal redwoods of Earth. The process of photosynthesis on Therese differed slightly from that on Earth. The leaves still absorbed light and created energy, but the byproduct was nitrogen instead of oxygen. The leaves were not greenish but ranged from various purples and reds. The bark on the deciduous trees showed minimal variation from one another. Instead, it was smooth, solid black, and as dense as a piece of steel. The backdrop to this expansive growth was the Mana-dorn mountain range, with its peak rising to over 75,000 feet, more than twice the height of Earth's tallest peak, Mount Everest. Due to the high elevation, the apex was rarely visible. There was minimal mammalian life, but the insect population was abundant. The most predominant insect was no larger than a hummingbird and had 6 membranous wings. It was deep orange with a green stripe down its back and a protruding multi-eyed structure. The closest resemblance this insect had to anything on Earth would be that of a dragonfly. Similar to the dragonfly, its diet consisted of other insects. Near the base of the tree line lay a 3-foot-wide trail covered with bluish crushed stones. This trail led directly into the forest and terminated at a large pavilion surrounded by various reflective plates.
Please stand clear, stream now arriving,
Announced an electronic voice emanating from the pavilion. A blue sphere formed and Corinth emerged. Still vexed by her recent conversation with Melchoir, she walked out of the canopy and onto the path. She took mental stock of the area and detected Willow off to her right near a patch of sassafras flowers.
Hello, Willow. How are you?
Corinth inquired. After a pause, Willow replied.
I'm fine.
Willow's responses were naturally slow, not due to intellect or age, but because of her meticulousness in ensuring her statements and replies were accurate.
Why do you insist on being around these types of flowers? I can hardly stand their smell,
Corinth remarked.
It's not that bad once you get used to it. Plus, how can you not enjoy these flowers? Their colors are so vibrant.
Corinth pondered why someone would immerse themselves in color but dress so unremarkably. She had never seen Willow wear anything extravagant, mostly dark slacks and a plain pullover shirt.
You sound like Shipra. Please don't get me wrong. I also enjoy plant life, just not ones that flower,
Corinth explained.
Thank you. I admire Shipra's ability to create such beauty from ordinary dirt. As for your aversion to blossoms, we all have our preferences.
That we do.
Corinth agreed with a slight grin.
Did you have an issue with Shipra lately? Right after you mentioned her name, you buried your thoughts about her.
Willow asked.
No, absolutely not. I just have a lot on my mind.
I see. So what can I help you with?
Nothing really. I'm here to deliver an orb of some sort. Melchoir asked me to bring it.
Corinth reached into her front pocket and retrieved the sphere. As soon as Willow saw it, she wore a pleasant expression and asked,
Melchoir gave this to you to give to me?
Yes, why? Is that a problem?
No, not at all. But I'm going to need you to hold on to it while you follow me.
Why?
Corinth's curiosity was piqued.
I'll explain when we get there.
I understand I'm a younger council member, but I don't think I should always be left in the dark.
Willow responded mildly.
Corinth, I have no concern regarding how you feel. This sphere requires a specific protocol. All I'm asking is that you please hold on to the sphere until we get to our destination.
And what is at this destination you're talking about?
Corinth inquired with skepticism.
We're going to Prime 2's mainframe.
You mean where Prime 2 processes and stores all the field programs?
That's correct. Have you never been?
Willow asked.
No, have you?
Of course. It's not uncommon for council members to visit the mainframe. You should know about this.
No, this is the first time I'm hearing of it. Why am I only finding out now?
Corinth's annoyance was evident in her voice.
Perhaps it's due to your tenure on the council. You're a much younger member. Regardless, I can't answer your question. I prefer not to keep track of the policies determining who has access to what. Are you coming or not?
Consumed by curiosity, Corinth halted her questioning and said,
Certainly, I'm right behind you.
Great. We just need to follow this path for a bit.
Why not stream in?
Corinth wondered.
There can be no data transfer or streaming within a certain radius of Prime 2 and the Mana-dorn mountain range. Enough chatting. Let's go.
Willow replied. After a brief journey, Willow and Corinth reached the entrance located at the mountain's base. Corinth appeared visibly disappointed. She had expected something grander. The 12-foot-high door was made of a high-strength metal alloy, blending seamlessly with the rocky surroundings and adorned with a purple engraved infinity symbol. Willow didn't need to say a word. While standing before the door, their craniums were scanned. A few seconds later, the door opened, granting them entry.
A brief brain scan, is that it? I would have thought security would be tighter and the entrance seems so unremarkable. The entrance to my reflection room is 10 times grander, which is quite a letdown if you ask me.
Well, I didn't ask you. You fail to remember that sometimes, when you have something of great importance, the last thing you want to do is draw attention to it.
Willow said. Upon entering, they stepped into a small chamber and boarded a 6-passenger humanoid enclosed transport that carried them deep into the mountain. The tunnel leading the transport was just large enough for passage.
This is certainly rudimentary transportation, don't you think?
Corinth remarked.
Just because it's not the latest and greatest doesn't mean it's not efficient. Plus, I told you that certain technology couldn't be integrated within this facility.
Couldn't be or wouldn't be used?
Corinth asked.
Try to communicate with me telepathically.
After an attempt, Corinth said aloud.
It's incredible. I can't establish a mental link with you. How is that possible?
This mountain is the only area on our planet, or any other for that matter, that contains a high-density mineral called inductonite. A small portion of this mineral blocks any form of electrical energy or any energy used for communication.
I've heard of this mineral and its properties. I know it was all harvested and shot into space.
There's some truth to that.
As soon as Willow finished her sentence, the transport halted and they both entered a purplish spherical room. In the center stood an oval-shaped tower that extended to the ceiling. Thousands upon thousands of small, colorful orbs, resembling the one Melchoir had given Corinth, circulated up from the floor and around the tower's circumference.
Now this is impressive. Where are we?
Corinth asked.
This is as close as we can get to Prime 2.
Willow said, marveling at the floating orbs. While Corinth looked around, she couldn't find any other entry points and asked,
How could anyone proceed further if they wanted to?
They can't.
Willow pointed towards the center of the floor and said,
See that oval-shaped indentation?
Yes.
Corinth replied.
That's where the Stone of Therese would go?
Corinth laughed.
The Stone of Therese? That's a myth. And even if it isn't, do you really believe it still exists?
I know it does.
Willow said confidently.
On what basis are you calling the Stone of Therese real?
Based on our ancient ways.
Replied Willow.
Ancient ways are for those who can't embrace the future, the here and now.
Corinth chuckled.
I feel so much sadness for you and your generation of mergers. You walk this planet thinking the universe revolves around you, but you forget the generations of Teresians who came before you, the ones who built our society, developed our belief structure, and created the technology you take for granted. I'm not saying you need to be a loyal follower of the past, but at least show some common respect for the Teresians who came before you.
Are you done? Because if so, I'd like to proceed with whatever we're here to do.
Corinth said, brushing off Willow's words.
Me too.
Willow said.
Great. So what now?
Take the silver orb out of your pocket, please.
As soon as Corinth touched the orb, she felt a surge of negative energy course through her body. She stood there, frightened, realizing she couldn't let go. She tried using her other hand to pry the orb off, but the bottom of the orb fused to her right palm. The top spun vigorously, lifting her hand towards the oval tower.
What's happening? Get this orb off me.
Corinth cried out.
I can't. It's fused to your body's energy.
Why? What did you do?
I didn't do anything. It's what you did.
Willow said calmly.
What did I do? What are you talking about? Have you lost your mind?
No, I'm perfectly sane. It's you who's lost your edge. You took another council member's life.
I absolutely did not. How dare you accuse me of such a thing?
You don't know what's happening. You're not here today because of me. You're here because of what you told Melchoir. Think, Corinth. Who gave you this orb?
That traitor. He told me to identify everyone who wanted to relocate to the planets we harvested from.
Yes, he told you to identify, not kill. You lost your edge. You're too dangerous, so it's time for you to go.
Go where?
Your program is going to be purged. When you contacted Melchoir earlier, he downloaded a mental virus into your matrix. When you get uploaded to Prime 2, you'll be detected as a threat, and your memories will be wiped. Your consciousness will be downloaded into a humanoid shell on Earth, and you'll be reborn.
You're joking, right? Please don't send me to that planet.
Sorry, but that's where your field programs came from.
How will you upload me?
This is where knowing your history would have helped. These orbs you see, spinning up the tower, are containers for the field programs arriving from our harvested planets. After they arrive at the Porta Mechanical Way Station in our atmosphere, they're stored in their respective orbs. These orbs counteract the negative energy produced, allowing the field programs to continue into this facility. The process reverses when sending field programs back. Each color corresponds to a planet, and you may have noticed there are no silver orbs. That's because silver represents our planet. If a handler contacts an orb during this process, there's no turning back. The handler becomes frozen in place like you are. Their program or consciousness begins uploading into the orb they touched.
Willow explained as Corinth stood there filled with terror.
Before our society mastered the ability to create field programs, they would download and merge what they considered high-quality consciousnesses from the deceased. If, later on, they discovered that a consciousness was struggling or problematic, they would use one of these silver orbs as a conduit to send them back to the original Prime. Once they merged with the mainframe again, their issues were resolved, and they were reinserted into a biological humanoid shell. So you see, if you had paid attention to the old ways, you would have recognized the significance of the silver orb when Melchoir gave it to you. You should have never come this close to Prime 2 while holding it.
Corinth realized she had no argument or defense, so she resorted to begging.
Please, Willow. I made a terrible mistake, but my incompetence shouldn't lead me to my downfall. I made a grave error in judgment. I thought if I tortured Shipra, I could extract more information about her misguided cause. I was wrong, and I didn't mean to kill her.
You're ignorant. First, torturing someone as steadfast in their beliefs as Shipra was is futile. They'll either stand their ground or provide false information. What you did is barbaric and morally wrong. Second, the fact that you consider Shifra's cause misguided reveals your immaturity. She was passionate about the cause she represented and genuinely believed it was a way to elevate our species. Just because you disagree doesn't mean you can't understand it. When societies start destroying each other due to differences in belief, we're heading down a perilous path. One I refuse to be a part of.
Oh, well, you're part of it now. You're about to end my life.
I'm not ending your life. I'm deleting the virus that enabled you to kill Shipra. Your program will survive, a courtesy you didn't extend to her.
What about all those field programs the Guardians are going to kill when...
Before Corinth could finish her sentence, a bright white fluid substance emerged from her frontal cortex, merged with the silver orb and left her body lifeless. The silver orb then floated into the stream of orbs leading into Prime 2. Willow stood by Corinth's lifeless form and pondered her actions. After a moment, she realized there was nothing more to gain from staying there. She inserted a decomposed feeder into Corinth's mouth, saying,
May your next life be less vengeful than this one.
As Corinth's body began to decompose, Willow noticed the guardian necklace around Corinth's neck. Knowing its significance, she easily removed it now that its carrier was deceased. Willow slipped it into a piece of cloth and placed it in her pocket. Exiting the transport, Willow left Prime 2, experiencing guilt for the first time in a while. Had she done the right thing? Was it justifiable to clear Corinth of her wickedness and give her a chance to atone? Or should she have reported Corinth to the council and let them decide? As she shuttled through the mountain, Willow realized a new era was dawning on her planet, an era she wasn't willing to accept.
What's going to happen? Why have 2 council members died in quick succession? Who's truly responsible for these events? What was Corinth's plan when she spoke about her movement? And how can I find answers to these questions?
Willow wondered. She was aware that her planet stood on the brink of civil unrest, but she wished she knew how to prevent the pain, heartache, and unjust deaths that lay ahead. Returning to the expansive forest, Willow felt a mix of emotions. Inside the Ark, high above the council members' reflection rooms, was a large chamber with transparent walls offering sweeping views of Therese. In the center, an oval-shaped glass table was surrounded by 2 crescent-shaped chairs, just like the ones in the main chamber. Above the table floated a massive infinity symbol, refracting various colored lights and radiating energy. The floor beneath the table slowly rotated, allowing a 360-degree view of the terrain. It seemed to pay tribute to natural light, the essence of life. Seated at the table was Zaccai, donning a dark blue hooded robe that concealed his body. Across from him sat Elymas, the oldest council member. Elymas, the quintessential wise man, had long grayish hair and a flowing beard. He sat in thought, combing his beard with his hand, while Zaccai remained silent.
Elymas, it's begun.
Zaccai finally said,
Yes, my friend, it has.